Hong Kong has been seen as a very safe city, but the gruesome dismemberment and cooking of Abbey Choi in the pot of soup has sent shockwaves throughout the city. As at the time of recording this video, the former husband of Hong Kong socialite Abbey Choi has been arrested after a manhunt that lasted for days. This comes after her headless body was found in a village house in Tai Po suburb of Hong Kong. Abbey went missing one fateful Wednesday, and by Friday of the same week, her body had been found cut up and stored inside a fridge in a house about 30 minutes outside the city. As of now, her ex-in-laws have been arrested in connection with this gruesome crime. Abbey Choi was a gorgeous woman, very wealthy, very charming, full of life. Everything seemed perfect until she disappeared and resurfaced 2 days later, but not as the beautiful model and influencer with the wealthy lifestyle. Instead, she was found in bits and in pieces. This case sent shockwaves throughout Hong Kong, like I said earlier. Cases like these are not common, and you will know why I said so in a bit. But before we go into the details of this case, I am asking that you kindly show some support to my channel by subscribing to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Share, like, and comment. It goes a long way to help my channel. So, Abbey Choi was a 28-year-old influencer and a model who was very well known in Hong Kong. She was even known well in other parts of the world as well. She was a style icon, one of those people who set trends in Hong Kong. And she was carving this path into becoming an international icon. According to reports, she comes from wealth as well. Her family has a very successful business. In fact, several businesses in mainland China. She was the oldest of 3 children, and she was doing really good for herself. She was worth like roughly 70 million Hong Kong dollars. Abbey was very well sought after. She had appeared on the cover of various style magazines, Elle Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, you name it. In February of this year, she was on the cover of L'Officiel Monaco. She had quite a large social media following, and this made her the top pick influencer. In fact, L'Officiel Monaco dubbed her the most sought after influencer. So you see, her life was like, it was picture perfect. Now, when Abbey was only 18 years old, she met and got married to a man called Alex Kwong. They were actually high school sweethearts, They were both too young, very young and immature, and that marriage packed up after a few years. They had 2 kids together though, and I think the kids are now 8 and 10 years old. Now, Abbey left with the kids after the dissolution of her marriage. The kids are actually in her custody. Fast forward to, I think, 2016, she remarried. This time she was 22 years old, and her second husband was a man called Chris Tam Chu Kwan. Listen, I am not exactly sure why Abbey wanted to be married so much. I believe that after her first marriage crash, she should have, taken out time, a lot of time to grow before remarrying again. Don't get me wrong. What I'm trying to say is that being so young and thinking you have it all figured out could cause you a lot of problems, You need to be mature to a certain level. Now, Abbey had 2 more kids with her second husband, and that makes it 4 children in total for someone as young as she was. There was one thing with this her second marriage though, so it is said that the marriage wasn't exactly legal. What I mean is that she had a wedding quite okay, but it's like they didn't turn the paperwork in. I am not exactly clear on the circumstances surrounding her second marriage though, so let's not say what we do not know. Let's stick to the facts, what we know. Chris Tam Chung Kwan is also from a wealthy family, and he was doing well for himself as a businessman. So it's not like Abbey downgraded. They kept their finances separate, because they weren't legally married, you understand? But they made sure that their kids lacked nothing. In fact, everyone close to Abbey knew her as a great mother and a fantastic partner. Abbey had a very huge heart. She was very generous, very giving, and down to earth. She was financially responsible for a lot of people around her. her in-laws, her friends, her family. She loved to see everyone around her happy, so she made conscious effort to make sure everyone around her was okay. And this included her former in-laws, the first husband, Alex's family. She did a lot for them, even though she didn't have to, but they were grandma and they were grandpa to her kids, so she made sure that they were well taken care of. So for many years, after she had been divorced from Alex, she was still supporting him and his family. Abby had a good heart. I don't know how many people would do this for their ex-family, ex-in-laws. What she was doing for them was something that a lot of people wouldn't do. But the downside of all what Abby was doing was that this her ex's family, these ones she was helping out, were beginning to kind of like get it way over their heads. They began to feel entitled, and it was beginning to get to Abby, Now, the story is that when she was still married to Alex, she had purchased this luxury apartment for her parents' in-laws. I believe it was in Cadoria Hill luxury apartment in Hong Kong, a very exclusive location. She was rich, so she wanted the family she was married into to be comfortable as well. But one mistake she made was that she put the apartment under her then father-in-law's name. That her ex-husband's father's name was the name on the house documents. Well, at the time, it was no big deal to her. She didn't see it as a mistake because she was really, really close to her in-laws. And I don't exactly mean just the parents. She was also extremely close to her brother-in-law as well. His name was Anthony Kwon, and he was Alex's older brother. Now, Anthony was older than Abby. He was even older than Alex, but he was jobless. So instead of supporting him financially all the time like she would normally do, Abby decided it was better to find him a job so that he could earn his own money. But Anthony didn't exactly have the necessary qualifications to work at a corporate office, that corporate environment. So she offered him a job as her personal driver. But that still didn't stop her from assisting him financially from time to time. She would give him money once in a while. She also helped him to purchase a home, and they even did small businesses together, like a pancake store that they owned together. So basically, she was still financially responsible for Anthony, just like she was financially responsible for his parents and Alex's brother. Anthony, he was everywhere Abby went. Luxury vacations, birthday parties, all of that. It seemed Anthony was grateful though. He really did care about Abby, so it seemed, because her pictures were all over her social media where he praises her and basically talks about their closeness and that she was his sister and his family and he loved her. I really don't get the true dynamics of Abby's relationship with her ex-in-laws though, but Abby for some reason just had her ex-in-laws all over her business. They were all over her. They were always invited to parties and vacations and dinners alongside her new in-laws. The question a lot of people asked after the news of this case broke was, what exactly did she have in common with the family of her ex, apart from the kids, of course? They were not supposed to be in her life as much as they were. That is what it shouldn't have been like. Abby's ex-father-in-law, Kwon Kao, used to be an ex-police chief. He was once a man of power until he fell from grace to grace after he was forced to resign when a woman accused him of assaulting her. This was according to Chinese newspaper Xinqiu Daily. Abby's mother-in-law, on the other hand, I am not exactly sure what she did for a living before all of this, but she filed for bankruptcy, I think in 2016 or thereabout. Then, for Anthony, Abby's personal driver, I'm still not sure how he got into this huge debt that got him sued in 2019. Then the man Abby had been married to, Alex Kwong, was caught in a scam involving fraudulent gold investment or something of that nature. Well, that was way back in 2015 though, but authorities following this case said that Alex Kwong had been on the run for 6 years for his involvement in this crime. Listen, what I'm trying to do here is to show you why this family were not letting go of Abby. She just she just couldn't shake them off her after the divorce, because this family were just leeches basically. They just were a bunch of people who were bad with their financial and personal choices, and they didn't exactly want to work for their own comfort, but they were comfortable, and rather they would set their tentacles on someone and feed off the person like they were parasites, and Abbey was their prey. So you see, it was reported that leading up to Abbey's demise, she and her ex-in-laws were actually having disputes over money and property. It is said that Abbey wanted to sell that apartment, that particular one that she had purchased for her ex-parents-in-laws when she was still married to Alex, their son. But her in-laws just said no. They said no. Remember, the apartment was in her ex-father-in-law's name. It wasn't like she could just up and sell it. So what she did was that she met with her legal team, and they advised her to prove that she actually paid for that apartment. This was like the major issue that was going on between Abbey and her ex-in-laws before she disappeared on that fateful day. It got to a point her ex-in-laws told her that if she sold the apartment without making arrangements for them to have like an alternative place to live in, their father said, quote, "I'll kill you," end quote. The sheer audacity. These people are so entitled. They failed to see that Abbey was only doing them a favor. She wasn't obligated to do anything for them. That she bought a house for them to stay in before doesn't exactly mean that she should be responsible for their shelter or their lives. Another strange thing that was said was that Abbey's ex-in-laws didn't like how she handled her finances. Like, really? What's their business? What's their business with how she manages her money? She was a fully grown woman with her own family, married to another man, remember? She was only once married to their son. Why were they meddling so much? Why were they trying to get involved so much in her business, if not for their own selfish reasons? Now, with Abbey wanting to sell the apartment, I believe she was trying to cut ties with her ex's family. I mean, it's been many years and they all depended on her for absolutely everything, yet they were ungrateful and they wanted more and more. So she was getting fed up, and that family didn't want that. I mean, Abbey was successful and it didn't look like she was going to stop making money. In fact, what was happening in Abbey's life at the time was that she was making more and more money, and they all wanted a piece of everything she made. I believe that they envied her and they felt like their son Alex should have been the one still married to Abbey so that he could keep on enjoying what she was enjoying. I mean, like the parties, the dinners, the luxury vacations, which they were even invited to each time, by the way, as well as maybe the fame and the fortune basically. Now, as for what exactly happened to Abbey, authorities believe that Abbey's ex-father-in-law, the 60-something years old disgraced police chief, Kwon Kao, was actually the one who spearheaded and masterminded Abbey's demise. It is believed that he understood that Abbey wasn't legally married to her now husband. So, if they took her out of the equation, her inheritance would go to the kids. That's the son and the daughter she had with Alex Kwon. So, this man got everyone in that sick and delusional psychotic family involved in his evil plan, and sadly, they all agreed to this despicable act. The ex-father-in-law put his plan in motion by renting a villa at this village called Lungmentuan village. The idea behind renting this place was to, practice how to commit this crime and get away with it basically. This was like 30 days before they actually carried out their plan. Now, Anthony was the closest to Abbey, being her personal driver and her business partner and all of that. So he was tasked to get her to that apartment that was almost like 30 minutes drive from the city center. Now, it's not exactly clear how it all happened, but it is believed that at some point, Anthony struck Abbey with some blunt object, and when she was unconscious, he took her to the rented apartment. Other reports also say that while Anthony was driving her to pick up her child, he suddenly stopped by a tunnel, and his brother Alex joined them inside the car and then began to attack Abbey at the back of the car while Anthony just drove up and drove to the rented building. The timeline is still not solidly put together, but authorities believe that some blunt object with a pointed edge was used to knock Abbey out initially because her skull had a hole in it when she was found. In fact, it is said that she might have even been in coma when she was taken to the apartment. Neighbors of this said apartment did say that they heard a woman screaming for help from inside the apartment. It's not clear if they did anything about it, and this is not confirmed whether it was Abbey who was heard from the apartment or not, so we don't know if it's true. These men then proceeded to take Abbey's body apart piece by piece, after which they proceeded to store some of the body parts like the legs inside a refrigerator which was found in the ground floor of the flat, which by the way had been carefully prepared for basically, cutting up Abbey. The floor and the walls were lined up, with things to avoid DNA getting everywhere. I hope you're understanding what I mean. The sickening part was that Abbey's head was found in a pot of soup made with green radishes, carrots, and of course some minced meat. This was in one of the 2 pots that was left on the stove. From the crime scene, the police also discovered and also took away a meat grinder, an electric saw, choppers, hammer, even face shields, black raincoats, and whatnot. I don't need to tell you what those were used for, just use your imagination and see what hammers and choppers will be used for. Listen, if that isn't pure evil, then I don't know what else is. To do that to your grandchildren's mother, your niece and nephew's mother, your ex-wife, someone who had done so much for you and your family, is just too much. It's cruel. Some of the body parts like the torso and the hands aren't found yet. It is actually believed that the family were trying to gradually and discreetly dispose of the parts before, they were caught. So there is still an ongoing search for the missing body parts at, I think, landfills at the time of filming this video. Mainly because of this particular CCTV footage of a man carrying what was being believed to be body parts to a garbage area from the flat where Abbey was caught up. Apart from this, a 7-seater vehicle was also recovered at the crime scene which had red vital body fluid stains in it, meaning that Abbey might have been attacked inside the vehicle like we explained earlier, either by Anthony alone or Anthony and Alex. Let's talk about how the police got involved in all of this, right? So, when Abbey got missing on February the 21st, when she failed to turn up to pick up her child from school and didn't return back home either, that very day, her family, reported to the police, and the police immediately began to surf CCTV footages using her last known movements. Now, Abbey was last spotted in Fortune Road in Tai Po at around 2:15 p.m. on Tuesday. She was wearing a white top with long sleeves, white pants, white slippers, and she was also carrying this purple Hermes bag. CCTV footage captured her clearly before she went missing, so it wasn't like they were mistaking her for someone. It was clearly Abbey. So naturally, Anthony, her personal driver, was questioned. Then the outcome of that interview with him led to his parents also being questioned. But these people were feeding the authorities with lies, and they were misleading the authorities, giving them misleading information. And somehow authorities picked up on this false information, and they got to know that his family was responsible for Abbey's disappearance, and they got them all arrested. But Alex Kwong, Abbey's ex-husband, was nowhere to be found at the time of that arrest. In that rented apartment, the police also found that this family were well prepared. They had tools, they had weapons there. I mean, the meat grinder and the chopper and the electric saw and the hammer and all of that, they were there. So, and Abbey's belongings like her purple Hermes bag, her identity card, her credit cards were all found inside that apartment. At a press conference, local police superintendent Alang Chung Yun Lu of the Kowloon West Regional Crime Unit described the crime as premeditated and well planned. Well, they got caught after just a few days, so they really didn't achieve their getaway plan today. Obviously, they didn't think about how to get away. Well, news of this crime broke Abbey Choi's friend Paul Jo Yi, and he offered a reward of 2 million Hong Kong dollars for information leading to Alex Kwong's arrest. Another Taiwanese woman upped the bounty price by another $1 million. Everyone was on alert, and on the 25th of February, Alex, Abby's ex, was caught while he was trying to escape Hong Kong using a speedboat. It is said that an estimated sum of $500,000 in cash and $4 million worth of high-end wristwatches were found with Alex Huang when he was arrested. He had all this time been hiding out at a luxury apartment which was rented by a woman called Ning Chin Wing, who was Kwon Kao, the ex-father-in-law's mistress or side chick. And now, all the family members are in police custody and they have been charged without bail. It is said that other people too are involved, and as of today, 7 people have been arrested in connection with what had happened to the beautiful Abbey Choi. The case has also been adjourned till May the 8th, 2023. Hong Kong has no capital punishment, so the highest they can get if they are convicted is just life imprisonment. Well, that will be good enough. This case is just so sad, To do this to someone who has literally taken care of you for so long. The one time she says no, they do this to her. Well, the case will go to trial in May, like I said. It is everybody's hope that Abby gets justice, even though it wouldn't bring her back to her family. People believe more details will actually come out during the trial, which would, give us more clarity and insight, I believe, because there are still so many gaps that needs to be filled in this story that only the family knows. Abby's family and current husband have been left in so much pain and in shock and disbelief. I pray that they heal from this deep heartache. At the end of the day, I pray we don't get entangled or get mingled with this type of family. It might not even be a family, it might just be one individual, but it's better to be careful. Let's learn to set boundaries and stick to it. If you have to help anyone financially, let them know that they are not entitled to it. It's that sense of entitlement that brings, hatred and envy and jealousy. So it's better to set the boundaries and let them know that you are assisting them out of your goodwill. With that said, that's all I have for you for Abbey Choi's case. May she rest in perfect peace. Let's see what you think about this case in the comments. And while you're at it, please remember to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Please stay beautiful, and I will see you in the next video.